Now, in an earlier section of this video, I mentioned I was going to get into the tactics and the training of the Urban Guerrilla. Now, the term Urban Guerrilla is a more or less liberal term for the militant revolutionaries, but the term's also been taken up by members of various gangster R&B groups, various gangs, various outlaw motorcycle gangs. Now, what I'm here to talk about very specifically is the training that goes involved. Before we get into this, I want you to understand the Urban Guerrilla's principles of fighting, the criminal's principles of fighting. Rule number one, right off the bat, is that you have to be prepared to cheat. Now, by what I mean prepared to cheat is that you have to have concealed weapons, various objects which can be used as concealed weapons. I can take this a step further, but I won't. We'll get into the handgun and knife tactics later. And yes, knives are quite common. Now, like I said, one of the principles to this is that you have to be prepared to cheat. By this, I'm saying you have various concealed weapons, which I'm going to get into. First off, the little thug motorcycle gloves, right? Common, all too common, everything else. Seen them in movies, seen little punk groups wearing them. Problem is, this is fist loaded. And when I say fist loaded, what I'm talking about is this here has a knuckle duster made out of black masking tape, wet paper towels formed around my knuckle, compressed so that the thin layers of paper towel become like a thin plyboard form-fitted to my knuckles and resecured or reinforced with masking tape. This gives my hand considerable density and has the same effect of hitting a person in the face with a 3 to 4 inch board. Also, and more importantly, this is easily concealed and is a hell of a lot more accurate than your 3 to 4 inch board. Now, the amount of money I have invested in this particular one here, if I were to equate the entire roll of masking tape and the can of black spray paint, would be maybe $3. Of course, for $3 I can make about 500 of these things because I can get napkins for free at any restaurant, any McDonald's, Hardee's, Subway, you name it. Oh, already got that covered. That's out the way. Another thing to bear in mind is hats. A lot of people don't consider this, but hats oftentimes will have a razor blade, which is the reason why a lot of rappers and a lot of the hip hop group keep their bills of their hats flat. Well, I don't. But the interesting thing about this is, if you look back at history, you'll learn that where that came from is that a lot of people would make a small incision into the hat, keep it flat, keep it looking almost new, slide the razor blade in along the edge of the bill, and then secure it with super glue or whatever. What happened was when they got into a fight, or they got into an argument, or somebody came up on them, hey man, I don't want none. Look, I ain't a fighter, I ain't fucking. There goes the razor blade under the bill. Slash. A lot of times it wasn't a simple slash, it was more or less coming in quick and fast and cutting you up. So that's out the way. Now, the far less known, all too common belt. A lot of the guys you see wearing studded belts like this, a lot of the females you see wearing studded belts like this, keep their belts on hand for one of two reasons. The first reason being that you can choke a person with it. The second reason being that you can take said belt here and use it as a weapon. As long as it's like this, you basically have a brace for your knuckles. Now, bear that in mind, because this little brace for your knuckles, just like I have here, has these nice little studs on it. It was an old Marine Corps trick that the Marines picked up from gang members, usually in ports from around other countries. Hey, still works. You have this here. Somebody punches, you can use this to block with, to catch their hand. They punch, this comes up the block. When you go to hit, still keep it in tight. And if you have to, you can always sneak up behind somebody, wrap this around their neck, just like a garrote, and choke them out. Now, that being said, we also have the all too common wallet chains, which many times used as a weapon. Like I said, prepare to cheat. What looks like a style, what's played off as a style, is oftentimes intended to carry a hidden message or a additional usage. Yeah, it's a style. Yeah, it projects that image of thuggery, that natural posture of I'm a dangerous person, but it also has the double edge of being able to be used or modified as a weapon. The video excerpt you just saw was taken from a documentary video I did talking about a lot of the methods and techniques used by criminals, called Drunken Wolverine Ninja Kungfu, a guide to the Urban Guerrilla. Now, here's the thing about it. A lot of this information is out there, and you have a lot of arguments against this information being out there. For example, Tom Hayden in 2005 wrote for the LA Times an article about the myth of the super predator. Now, this article referred to juvenile offenders in the wake of the execution of Stanley Tukey Williams. The LA Times blames the government for the juvenile outrage, but fails to rationalize that gangs recruit young, and that many gangs promote a paramilitary or illegal violent skill set, such as those examples of improvised weapons in the previous video. Now, you have to bear in mind, there is no super predator. A super predator is a term for a predator which has nothing above it in the food chain. There's no such thing as a super predator in the world of crime. But there are predators, and they may be lone criminals or they may be gang members. They may be terrorists or they may be con artists. They may have training or they may not. They may have experience or they may not. The best that you can do is to be educated, to be aware, and to be prepared. You can't choose the type of person you're going to be confronted with, and you can't choose what that person will have as skill sets or will know. What will happen, ultimately, is that you will be faced with a predator or an aggressor or an attacker. And when it comes time to defend yourself, you may be banking on someone with no skills, no training, no experience, and might find yourself completely wrong. Or you might be prepared to face the worst possible scenario and find that your skill sets and your training are more than enough. No one rises to the occasion, but everyone falls back on training. And that's true even for criminals. Most criminals use experience as a method of training. They go out and victimize people who are weaker than them that they know that they can victimize, simply to train for a harder, more prepared, a stronger victim later on down the road. And predators, criminals, often target people they feel are weaker than themselves simply because they feel they have the strength to do so. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of elements that isn't covered in this video, but hopefully there is enough to help you to understand that regardless of what you face in life or who you face, that you can be prepared and that you can fall back on that training and that preparation, and with educated awareness you can either avoid the threat before it becomes a danger or confront the danger head on and be prepared to face whatever life throws at you. It's a choice that you have to take, and it's a choice that you have to take seriously, especially when you're talking about the realm of self-defense.